Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Wyld. Today we are talking about getting tax documents from Uber. Between Uber and UberEats, getting your tax forms is all done via the Uber platform. And while that is a good thing in some cases, there are a few things you need to know about as drivers. Because while it may seem like a simple download process, it is much more confusing than you may imagine, especially when you see the numbers and you just go, huh? So with that said, we are talking about everything you must know about getting your tax forms from Uber, what they tell you versus how it actually is, and everything in between. But before we do that, let's go over a quick disclaimer. The content of this video does not contain, is never intended to be, legal, business, financial, tax, or health advice of any kind. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is advised that you conduct your own research and consult qualified professionals before applying anything you find online. Also, thank you to GigTax for verifying this information and making this video possible. What tax documents will I receive? As an independent contractor, you may receive a 1099-K, 1099 NEC, and or 1099 miscellaneous form. You'll also receive monthly and yearly summaries of the earnings and charges that you accumulated throughout the months and years, which is why it may seem like your 1099-K is so off, and it could really confuse people, but more on the inner details of that later on. Only drivers who received more than $20,000 in gross trip earnings or conducted more than 200 trips in the past year are eligible. If you do not meet these thresholds, you will not receive a 1099-K. Note, certain states have implemented lower reporting thresholds. Therefore, you might receive a 1099-K for the amounts that are below $20,000. In addition, drivers and delivery people who have backup withholding during the year will receive a 1099-K regardless of any federal or state thresholds. Backup withholding tax will be reported in box 4 on the 1099-K form. And of course, with any kind of conversation with any gig app, everything is going to be a case-by-case basis and is very market dependent. This includes the state, county, and city income taxes that you may be subject to, or really the lack thereof on all three of them. Also, in later years, the 1099-K rule will change. The threshold in 2024 for receiving a 1099-K has been lowered on a federal level to $5,000. For the income earning year 2023, it's still $20,000, but moving on, it's going to be $5,000 or more. We'll provide you with a 1099 NEC if you've received at least $600 in non-rider earnings, i.e. referrals, on-trip promotions, etc. You may also receive a 1099 miscellaneous form if you received at least $600 in other income, such as prizes, legal settlement, etc. This also is in reference to any cancellation fees or reimbursements that you care and that support for. Also, quick note, I love how legal settlement is one of the things that they mention because they know they do shady stuff. I'm just saying. If you meet these requirements and opted to receive a physical copy of your tax documents, you should receive your tax documents in the mail after February 1st, 2023. If you don't qualify for either type of 1099, you'll still receive an Uber tax summary by January 31st, 2023. This tax summary will give you the annual earnings information you need to easily file your taxes. They're also going to email you when they are ready as well, but it's not going to be in the inbox on your app. It's actually just going to be straight to your email account. I would download the 1099-K, the 1099 NEC, and the yearly summary for tax and record keeping purposes, as well as provide them to a tax professional if you have one. Hot tip. Worst case scenario where I have forgotten if I opted in to receive electronic tax forms, I have waited to reach out to Uber support on 131. I told them that I opted in because I haven't received my forms and needed them to file my taxes. Because companies need to issue their W-2s and 1099s by this date, my request was met with a response that an electronic copy would be emailed to me in under 24 hours. I ended up receiving it in less than 12 hours. This avoided me having to wait a week or longer to receive a paper copy. Joseph Mayo, founder of GigTax. Now, I do have a couple of side notes that I would like to go over on this subject. Yearly summary. The yearly summary not only provides the earnings and income that you received via Uber as a driver, but they also contain expenses and fees that you can use to write off. Uber considers themselves a third-party processor, and that is why if you add up the 1099K and the 1099 NEC amounts, and look how much money that actually hit your bank account, you will see the amount add up to more than what was actually deposited. The expenses and fees will include the instant cash out charges as well if you choose to do that. So don't miss out on write-offs because you didn't want to look at the other form that Uber sends you, you know? No form doesn't mean no income. Like I said, the reporting threshold for 1099 NEC is $600, and the 1099K is $20,000 this year and $5,000 next year. But that doesn't mean you didn't receive income. That just means the income threshold for reporting income is not the same as receiving a form. According to the IRS, you must file a tax return if you have a net earnings from self-employment of $400 or more from gig work, even if it's a side job, part-time job, or temporary.
But Joe, what about the 3 cash tips that I received from the few customers that gave them to me? Do I have to report that too?
While it is rare to receive cash tips, and it is a long, hard-sung argument of every single hate commenter who claims they tip after service and that you don't have to report it, let me put it to you this way. Officially, it is not recommended that you choose not to report it, but that's your business. That's up to you. Either way, it's still not a reason to accept no tip orders. US versus everywhere else. As you can imagine, these rules are specifically in regards to gig workers in the US, and places like UK, Canada, Australia, and otherwise have their own set of rules and regulations. So make sure if you're in any of those countries that you capitalize on those aspects. Mileage and expense tracking apps. As an independent contractor, you are responsible for keeping track of your earnings, expenses, and mileage, and accurately reporting them in tax filings. Uber and UberEats provide a breakdown of your total earnings between the monthly and yearly summaries, but you should really be tracking everything for yourself, which is why I would say that it is vital to have a mileage and expense tracking app. These apps can not only save you a bunch of money on your taxes if implemented properly, but can end up saving you a lot of time and stress when it comes to tax season. And there have been quite a few that have popped up over the years, and some even developed by other gig workers. Everlance, MileIQ, QuickBooks Self-Employed, Solo, Para. The list can go on for days, and each of these apps have their own varying pros, cons, price points, and different features that are beneficial to specific people's needs. I will make more breakdowns of each of them in the future, but either way, it is vital to have one of these apps for yourself and not wait until the last day of the year to actually figure out how many miles you drove for work. Don't be that guy. Now, a lot of people who see stuff like this think that they can pretty much write off anything and everything as a tax write-off because they could claim it is for business purposes, but in reality, you're just doing your own personal crap, like running to the liquor store or doing whatever. This can get you into a lot of trouble with the IRS, and the last thing you want to do is end up audited. Or you don't want to pay for an app service, so you guesstimate the number of miles or the amount of money you wrote off and hope you aren't losing too much money in said write-offs, which I don't really understand that logic at all. Why wouldn't you spend a few bucks a month on a tracker to save you thousands on your tax return? So do yourself a favor, don't be that guy. Seriously. Working with a tax professional. One of the best decisions that have saved me time, energy, and tax dollars was to begin working with a tax professional to help me with my taxes so I can focus on making the most of my working time towards gig work and growing my business. Which I know for a lot of people, this can be really expensive and can cost you a lot if you end up going to the wrong people, which is why GigTax is here to help. The approaching tax season is inevitable, and for every hour spent on navigating tax season alone, you miss out on potential earnings, precious moments with loved ones, and expose yourself to financial risks. Recognized as the leading tax preparation services for gig workers, GigTax is dedicated to simplifying the process, saving you time, energy, and money. Founded by Joseph Mayo, a seasoned gig worker with 6,000 deliveries across 6 platforms, platform since 2020, GigTax addresses the overlooked, overcharged, and underserved needs of gig workers in the financial realm. Driven Wyld subscribers can take advantage of an exclusive 60% discount on GigTax's tax prep, and if you act now, the first 3 registrations include complimentary tax preparation. Let me say that again, in case you didn't hear me. Professional tax prep tailored to your needs. Absolutely free! Secure your spot today with GigTax using the description link below to register and enter Wyld to maximize your savings and get back to what you do best, making the most amount of money in the least amount of time in the safest possible way. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. As always, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!